Happy Friday, everybody.
Kidwell, what's up, man? Long time.
What's up?
What's up, bro?
How are you? I just
Doing
saw
well.
your
How you
name
been?
first too. How does your name show up first?
I don't know.
How did you get the VIP? What did you do? What do you have on? What do you have
I
on
mean,
Jalen and Jen?
it's because I know you.
That gets you kicked out of restaurants in most
Right?
cities. Yeah, it's not a good thing.
We'll give it a couple minutes and let everybody join. But I'm Jalen Vick, and I'm part of our engagement team here at ARIVE. If you're not familiar with Broker Connect, it is our biweekly interactive session featuring our top brokers and power users of ARIVE. It is a great opportunity to learn best practices and see how others are leveraging the platform and pick up a ton of useful tips that we are going to get. And I'm here today with Shane Kidwell of Dwell Mortgage, and I'm so excited to have him on. But before we turn it over, I am going to start and cover a few pieces of business as we still let people come on. We do have a ton of weekly training that I like to point out. We have onboarding sessions offered every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific. We also have two sessions of new user training every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific, or for part two, 12 p.m. Pacific. We have our Arrive Live Q&A that is at noon Pacific, Monday through Friday. You will always be able to see if we're live. If you look in the top right, it'll show you like a little icon that says that we are live on that. And then we also have Arrive University every other Friday, go over updates and enhancements to the Arrive platform. And we also have in-person events too. So please make sure you are part of our Facebook group so that you are seeing that. And we'll throw some links in the chat soon for some of this stuff if you're wondering how to join. Looks like we're still admitting a bunch of people. Everybody's so excited. I love this. Look at all these people joining. So it's arrive.com/events if you want to sign up for any of these. And let's dive into Broker Connect. Shane, welcome. Thank you so much. And if you want to start off with an introduction to yourself, I would appreciate it.
Boy, I've been an originator since the end of 2009. And about 3 years ago, I made the decision that I just couldn't wear a suit and tie. I couldn't do it. I tried and I just couldn't do it. And at the time, I was an executive on for a retail lender. And I just felt like that there was something else I needed to do. And so I decided to build my DBA into a brokerage. And I had probably the worst possible timing of launching a brokerage at the beginning of the of the downturn, but it was an awesome opportunity, and it created a ton of really cool kind of future opportunities coming down the road for me, which I'm really excited about. The reason I'm here today, so when this originally came about, I just pull back the curtain. So I didn't ask Harish permission to say this, but it's okay. I'm gonna do it. It was because of credit, right? We all hate the cost of credit and trigger leads and all this other garbage going on. But then when they said, "Hey, would you come on and share?" I said, "Can I talk about AI? Like, I want to talk about that. That's important." But that's like a 3-minute conversation that I think we've all really, kind of we've beat that horse to death. And my coach told me, as I was over the last couple of years, saving money, learning at ways to navigate being a real business owner. And he said, "Shane, the best solution is to make more money. Like, you can cancel your $11 subscriptions, or you can do that. And that's great, but you can just learn to make more money, and that's going to solve a lot of your problems. And AI will absolutely help us make more money." And so I'm really excited to talk about AI, excuse me, but we will at the end. I'm going to show you how I connected Advantage with all of my gum, duct tape, super glue, and everything else to get to a place where I can do a single bureau soft pull that includes AUS. And we're going to go into that later, but here's something that I've learned over the last couple of years as a business owner. And for most of us on here, at some level, we're a business owner, we're entrepreneurs. If the cost of acquiring our client is not one of your first thoughts, you're not operating a business. And so we have to be looking at that and sensitive to that and thinking about that. And I was the guy who always pulled a VOE up front, did a tri-merge at the time of pre-approval, never did a pre-qual. And the market has shifted and things have shifted. And I had to just go back to the drawing board and say, is the way I did things in the past still the best way to operate today? Where is technology now? Where is the consumer's expectation? And what is the soft pull even today versus what it was before? And so that's what led me down this path. And then there were a bunch of people inside the ARIVE community that helped me kind of solve it. So I'm excited to share what we did to kind of lower the cost, for many people.
That's awesome.
Are we waiting for Harish?
No.
I'm
Okay.
here,
Oh.
Shane.
Oh,
I
he's
joined in.
here.
Oh, here he is. There's
Yeah,
my
thank you.
guy.
Yes, so thank you for joining. Thank you for your time. We have done this, I think, earlier a couple of years back. So we appreciate everything you do for the community. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. You don't need my permission for anything. Go for it.
Okay. What did I do last time that pissed you off so much it took 2 years to come back, Harish?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was around Halloween. I do remember we were creating this situation, like scary things and all that. I do remember that. So but
All
thank
good.
you.
All good.
All good.
Well, hey guys, I'm excited. And what I'd love to do to start here, I'm going to share my screen. Um, Okay. You guys can all see that okay? I'm going to do the proverbial zoom.
We
Can you
see
guys
it.
see this okay? Awesome. Okay, so first and foremost, I just really want to get to know everyone here. And for those I don't know, you guys can always reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on and LinkedIn as well. What is your comfort level with AI? And it's really important because I'm going to get into how I think we as originators should be using this for best practices, but I want to understand. So if you could put in the comments, are you a pro, a novice, or a beginner? And if you're a pro and you can put in here we go, beginner, novice, beginner. I don't know what Movi is. Probably novice, love it. I love LOs. We ask a question, they give us totally different things. It's so great. I love this community. So much fun. Novice. Okay. And again, the way I describe a novice is you're not making money using this. You have some skill, but it does waste your time, right? Like you're in the danger zone, guys. And I've been there a lot. Beginners, it does waste time. You just don't spend a lot of time on it because you're kind of in your brain. You're already writing yourself off as not being an expert, not really knowing what to do. Okay, cool. Lots of beginners. Awesome. I sat down with one of my business partners, Kyle Draper, last year. And I said to him, Kyle, I said, man, like just being honest, I said, you and I are like supermodels that are no longer hot. And he kind of laughed and he's like, I have never been called a supermodel in my life. But the reality is what I was feeling was a combination of just this burned out vendor life where you're constantly engaging with people kind of desperate to get their business. You're reacting. Like, I love this picture because it's like the door-to-door salesman that is just like burned out, suit doesn't fit. Like you've had a long career. And I don't want that for anybody on this call. I didn't want it for myself. When I made the decision to open up Dwell Mortgage, I had previously been a top originator and done a lot of things, closed a lot of loans. And I made the decision that I was not going to originate. So I was going to keep my licenses, but I just felt like at some level, me focusing on my business was going to compete with my LOs. And there's nothing wrong with those that do that. It just was my decision. And so I put all of my trust in my LOs, and I have a small group based here in Washington, and we're in like 9 states licensed. And I just said, hey, I'm gonna go on just loving on my people. But there's a fear base with that, right? Because now I'm relying on them to help this company grow. And I can't just like go work harder and do more loans. I've got to really be innovating. And the reality is, as I was looking at the landscape of mortgage over the last 12 to 24 months, I just had this, I don't know about you, I had this fear that I was going to become extinct. I kind of made the joke on one of my coaching calls this week. I'm like, I don't want to become fossil fuels. I don't want to be a dinosaur. I don't want to look back and say, well, I just didn't get on board with where things were going soon enough. I was too stubborn, too prideful, felt too old and stuck in my ways. And I didn't want to be a dinosaur. Because, and so once I made that decision, I went all in. So for the last 12 months, I really kind of pulled back from a lot of the public coaching and speaking in those things because I wanted to become an expert on how to use AI in my business. And I'll just warn you that there's a lot of great people out there that are speaking and coaching and training on AI. And if you're like me, you see everybody posting, here's the 7 prompts for this and 9 prompts to sound like Samuel L. Jackson and 5 prompts to get a 6-pack and 8 ways to get, your video converted. And it's overwhelming. It's like system overload. And so then what oftentimes happens to us originators, we just sit back and go, I'm over it. I'm just going to go back to doing what I've always done. The reality is what I want to do and what I want to share with you guys today, I think are the 3 core drivers for both lenders and real estate agents, maybe most commission salespeople. You have a need, and this is not wrong. You have a need to make more money. You have a desire to have more time. And whether that's work less and get paid the same, make more per hour, maybe it's to just work less in general. Maybe it's to say, hey, I want to do more, but I don't want to be working 80 hours a week. I don't want to go back to where I was in 2021. Right? I don't want to go back to that. I have a 4-year-old and I take that very seriously. Being a dad is my number one goal. And so how do we have more time? And how do we increase our influence? Because at the end of the day, oftentimes when we're doing stuff on social media, it's to build influence, which if done correctly, will bring us more money. And if we leverage tools, systems, processes, and coaching, we'll have more time, right? And so I think, and there's just working for the greater good and helping people. But if our primary driver was just charity, we would be working for nonprofits. And so it's a driver, but it's certainly not the primary drivers. And so what I want to do in the next 30 to 45 minutes here is just walk you through kind of some of the core basic steps. You can forget the 9 prompts to look sexy on Instagram or the 7 prompts to master this. I just want to take you through the very basics that if done correctly, you can actually do all these things today. You can work on these things this weekend and you can start moving the needle in all 3 of these areas next week, if that's cool with everybody. And so if you guys are good with that, and if that makes sense, just go ahead and put in the comments, let's roll. Because I want to make sure that we're not multitasking, because multitasking, the definition of multitasking is doing multiple things poorly. And that's not a good use of our time. My Fridays, I cut those short so I can go spend time with my daughter, and I want to be here. I want you guys to win. I desperately want you guys to win. I want you guys to be able to make more money, have more time, build more influence, and then be able to spend more time doing what's really fun. It's going boating, spending time with our family, being involved in nonprofits. So that's what we're going to do. So first and foremost, I think one of the common kind of key points of confusion is, what engine do I use? It's like if, you say to yourself, I need to get new shoes. And then you go to the shoe store that has 7,000 pairs of shoes. And you're like, I didn't even know where to begin. I didn't even know what On shoes were. And now I'm thinking I need Cloud shoes, or I didn't know that there was a pickleball shoe. And I thought I was getting a tennis shoe, and you're completely overwhelmed. The reality is I've worked through all these engines. I've seen my dollar per hour, my time efficiency go way down, trying to say, I'm going to use Claude for this, and I'm going to use Grok for this, and I'm going to use Gemini for this, and I'm going to use, Lovable for this. And it's not that it's not that there isn't a specific platform that's best at each of the things we're going to go over. I just would argue that for those of us on this call who have identified as novices or beginners, the reality is that yes, Claude 4.0 Sonnet is better at writing than ChatGPT 5, standard is. However, the way we prompt it, the way we work it, the way we understand it, done is better than thought of. Right? What we don't want to do is I'm going to just get all these different bots and engines and think I'm going to do all these things, and then you don't do anything. And then you've posted once in the last 4 days, and you didn't create any of your future lead generation content via blog posts, articles, and things like that. And so I just decided, after fighting this for months, because when I decided a year ago that I needed to not be a dinosaur. I needed to pivot from being just an organic sales guy who was all relational to really leveraging this technology. I needed to go on. I started listening to podcasts on AI. Every day I walk my dog, I have a podcast I listen to on AI. Then I have another one I listen to twice a week, and I'm digging in on articles, and I'm going I'm geeking out on this stuff. My business partner, Kyle's constantly making fun of me. And as I was doing that, there are all these different engines coming up, and I finally just made the decision. I'm going to pick ChatGPT. And I think there's several reasons why it's the best engine for us to just go with. I use ChatGPT Pro. Now there's 3 levels of GPT without getting into all the enterprise that none of us need to worry about. your basic free account. Then they have a $20 a month account, and then they have a $200 a month account. I've done all three. I'm currently on the $200 per month account, but the $20 per month account works just as good. And I think that for what the vast majority of us need, I haven't seen significantly faster output or higher quality output. The amount of things I need to do daily, I'm fine doing it in the $20 plan. And I'm going to get out of the slides and I'm going to go into the engine and really dig in on this. Something else, just take a quick side, like kind of a little bit of a detour. There are a lot of AI aggregators. An AI aggregator is, and they advertise very shrewdly so that when you're like looking up ChatGPT Pro, you type that in, a lot of the sponsored links are actually AI aggregators. It'll be like gptsimple.com and you're thinking it's ChatGPT and they'll make the logos look the same and they're an aggregator. What an aggregator is in essence, they have built in their own interface. Perplexity is probably one of the best aggregators, maybe the best. And then they have API feeds to all these other engines. There is some difference in how that works. And I've tried them all. I was on one called Magi. I geeked out on it. And they will all tell you that you can get the exact same functionality. And I did not experience that. I went in and I spent about 14 hours on a weekend rebuilding everything I had in ChatGPT and Magi because it had over 30 engines. It was like $40 a month and I could use all 30 engines. And what I found was they oftentimes have a consumption fee. And so I started getting into Claude 4 Sonnet and all these other models, and I quickly ran out of credit and I had accomplished nothing. And a lot of the things with long-term memory and some of these other kind of hacks for GPT that I'm going to talk about, I could not get them to work inside of the aggregator. And so like for me, I just wanted you guys to just like, I just personally, I wouldn't even go for that. I would just go right to ChatGPT. And there's other reasons why I'm going to just tease at the end. And guys, we could talk about this for days, right? You could talk about this for days, but there are some ways you'll be able to monetize ChatGPTs, public GPTs in the future. I'm calling it that I think are an important reason to be on the largest AI platform in the world with I mean, like they're investing. Sam Altman came out last week at a dinner and said that they're going to invest trillions of dollars in data centers, trillions of dollars in data centers. Like it's insane. And so I think that that's really important. So I just want to pause really quick. Does anybody have any just basic question on kind of this concept around going with ChatGPT versus like sticking with going with a different engine or really leveraging multiple engines?
I have a question. Just how do you get started? Period. I'm just keeping it real. An AI. I've done nothing with it.
Yeah. We're gonna go through exactly like the first prompt to build, and I'm gonna walk you through it inside ChatGPT. Step one: get a GPT account. I would get the $20. I would get the $20 paid account. It'll make you tens of thousands of dollars. And I'm going to show you how to do this. I'll walk you, Todd. I love that question. I'll walk you through it. Trip, GPT versus...
Can I just ask, like, it's way better just to go, I would think, there's just deep on one?
Yes. There's very few professional athletes that are good at multiple sports. Right. And listen, we can make millions of dollars in this business and not have to be Michael Jordan. I mean, like Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, Deion Sanders, I can't think of many others that have done multiple sports. I think that what we often do in lending is we have great energy around ideas, vision, like planning, and very poor execution. And I think the reason we have such poor execution is we get into system overload and we get into shiny object syndrome. And AI is one of, and we did this before. And so we like when CRMs came out, when video marketing came out, like when the new cloud-based LOS of the year came out before ARIVE, and we always do this, and then we just get overwhelmed. We say it's them, not us, and then we leave the industry. And so like my job today is I want you to make money, have more time, and build more influence today using an engine. And if we try to talk about 4, you're not going to do that. You're going to get really bogged down. So I want to go through 1 real quick. ChatGPT versus Grok. So when these new models come out, and they come out all the time, basically what they're doing is they'll come out and say, they have these tests that they're all using, these benchmark tests. And one of them is they'll have to like do this like problem. And so Grok came out, and Grok 4 was way better than GPT. And then GPT 5 came out, and it was like slightly not as good as Grok 4. Here's the deal. We're hitting a point with AI where the knowledge available is kind of, it sounds crazy, but we're running out of knowledge to feed the models and the engines. Now they're starting to look at ways to save on token usage, so efficiencies and things like that. And so one of the things that kind of went under the radar with the GPT-5 launch was it's 90% more efficient in certain areas. And that is massive, right? Like you can have the best truck, but if we're doing a cross-country race and my truck gets 800 miles to the gallon and yours gets 4, I'm probably going to win, even if I don't have the best truck. And GPT has more resources, more focus on this than anybody else. So for this call, go to GPT, sign up for that after this. Don't do anything else. Trust me, you don't need to get on any of the other models. You're going to make a lot of money, and it's going to be a lot of fun using GPT.
The $20 one, correct?
$20. Yep. $20 per month.
So Shane, if I can add something, if I may, just to supplement what you are saying, I've looked at all these models. I use all these models, and they serve different purposes. If you want to review contracts, RFPs, long documents, if you want to do programming like coding, Claude would be better for you. For general multimodal applications like images or text, like social media marketing or whatever, Shane, probably you'll talk about. ChatGPT outperforms all other models, if you will. So if you're into research and you want to review agreements and contracts and long documents, again, Claude also is close to $20-25 per month. The pricing is not very different, but for the kind of business we are in, loan officers, where you want to get to borrowers or agents and create content or materials, ChatGPT happens to be the best. But go ahead, Shane.
Yeah, and it's such a great point, because what happens is people go, oh, but I think I want to get into coding. No, you don't. Harish gets into coding, right? Like you do not want to build your own LOS. You don't want to get into that stuff. It's not a good use of our time. Again, for us to increase our dollar per hour, we have to do less skills better, not try to do more skills better. That doesn't work unless you live on like you have no family, no life, and you live in a bunker with high-speed internet. And like that doesn't serve me well. So yeah, Claude 4 does coding better, but like, again, we're seeing a lot of improvement in a lot of these. So I think that like for me, what I have found, and I've tried them all, I wasted a lot of money thinking that I could outsmart what makes the most sense, which has always been for me when I was a fireman, when I got into loans, keep it simple, stupid. And when I follow that methodology, I make more money, I have more time, and it's way more fun. So guys, kind of the number one step after, and I don't know what happened here, but I must have like drawn on my screen or something. We got this whiteboard going, and this is excellent, but I don't even know how I did that. See if I can erase that. Maybe that's not even me.
Hey, Shane,
there we go.
Saying to ride around on the wheels that are already invented? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, and here's the thing about this. It's like before when your example about cars, basically the car really hasn't changed since it was first invented. There's 4 wheels, there's an engine, there's seats, there's a steering wheel. Yeah, like now I can have like my Apple CarPlay. It's the same basic product. AI is not like that. It is changing so quickly. Trying to think that we're gonna like get in front of trillion-dollar valuation companies, it's so foolish, and it's just not a good use of my time. So yeah. So guys, the first thing I want you to do, the very first prompt inside of ChatGPT is going to be building your personal voice. This is so important because what happens is, here's the reality. People say, I need to be doing social media and I don't like it, so I want to have AI write social media for me. And that is not what I'm suggesting for your basic engagement posts. The best way to use this is to have it enhance your voice or take on your voice, right? Because that's going to get you so much farther with your engagement on social media. And we've been beta testing this for a while. So there's several things you need to do when you're building your first prompt. And I'm actually going to just kind of walk you through this inside of ChatGPT. So when you get inside ChatGPT, and I'm going to jump back and forth. First and foremost, you need to speak to your large language model, LLM, ChatGPT, your bot, whatever you want to call it. You need to speak to it like you just hired an entry-level admin that knows nothing about anything, but is highly smart, highly trainable, and will work 100 hours a week. You have to speak to it like it knows nothing. And so what you need to do is you need to intro it well, but you also need to then speak to it. And I kind of give this analogy. When you first work inside of ChatGPT, it is high effort input. Like what we're doing to start and to build this bot is high effort input. What comes out of this is low effort input. So once I've built my voice bot, once I've built my other bots, every time subsequently I need to pull data, it takes me seconds, and I'll walk you through how to do that. So if you're thinking that you're going to have 3 screens up, you're going to be multitasking, doing your NFL fantasy football draft while you're writing your prompts, that is really foolish and will not help you make more money. Take the time, block everything out, noise canceling headphones, and just start to build your first prompt framework. And so this is my first prompt, and I'm going to run this in GPT Instant simply for time, but I would challenge you to go into Pro, go into Thinking, and try Auto on ChatGPT 5, which is their newest model, when you're actually doing this on your own. So what I've done is I have a Word doc that has all of my prompt framework, and that's something that you guys need to be building. Have a document where you have all your framework. And so the first part of this is I'm telling it what I want it to do. It's going to be a world-class copywriter. It's going to take on my personal voice, mindset, and philosophy. And then I'm going to share resources. And this is really important. I am attaching my disc profile. I'm going to be attaching, if I won an award that made sense to put in my generic voice. And I'm talking about my life. I'm talking about when my father passed away when I was young. I'm talking about being a Seahawks fan. Like, this is an extensive, but don't we all need to have a good bio on our website anyways? Like, don't we all need to have that anyways in our business? And so like I went through this and I just started putting everything about myself. And then I also put in my social media URLs and any other URLs that would make sense. And then that's where you can get into Pro, and it can start to scrub your social media profiles. It'll pull words out. And then the last hack is when do any of you guys record your intake calls? Does anybody here record their intake calls? What I have started doing, and I have a whole strategy around this, I record everything I do now. And so what's crazy is right now while we're on this call, I'm recording this call on my Plod transcriber. You need to record everything. And what I'll do is I'll take transcripts of me talking, and I will put those transcripts in my voice, my original voice bot, so that it's not only me telling it who I am, it's actually consuming me talking to other people. And that's a hack that will absolutely help you really make this valuable. So we do this, and you build out your first instruction to your bot. And this is in depth. And again, I'm on instant, so this is great, but it will be even better when you do this on ChatGPT Pro, or if you do it on the thinking model. And Auto basically is designed to pick which model is the best model to use based on your input. But for me, I know which one works best based on testing. And so I'm going to use that works best. And then here's what you need to do. And I don't want to take too much time going through this as an example. You've got to take the time to go through every question. You've got to take the time to go through, and it's what's great. It says, hey, you speak online. Do you want your content to be more coach-like, peer-to-peer? What do you want it to be like? And then it says, you want me to keep your David Goggins style intensity. That I coached with David for a year, so it's extracting that. It'll say, hey, you've mentioned before that you're doing things like you don't want, and this is really important. You don't want it to sound like AI. You don't want the dashes or words like unlock or leverage. And I'll say, yes, I don't want that. And I have a specific prompt that I'll give it so that it doesn't sound like AI. So that's very, very important. And then I'm going through and I'm just answering those 8 questions. And I'll show you what the outcome of this looks like. So after I created my voice, and I redid this voice, I did it again once 5 came out because 5 changed. So I'll show you how long this is. So you can see here, I uploaded my personality test, my disc. I uploaded coaching calls I do for my momentum groups. I uploaded, like I do my every Friday I do a sales call with my company, and I put all that in, and then I broke it out. And I did this in Pro, and it asked me a few more questions. And then I said, hey, I want all kinds of content. I'll be asking you to generate like all kinds of stuff. And then it started to cook. And I keep scrolling. And this is the thought that's gone into this. Like, it's insane thought. And all I'm doing, I'm just building this to speak and think like me, right? To respond like me. Then I gave it more coaching. I said, hey, I want you to make sure that you're not sounding like AI. Review these companies that you can scrub for AI and make sure it goes, got it. That's great. I will not sound like AI. I want to talk about your coaches, but I don't want to be overly salesy with it. I gave it more instruction, and it continued to refine my voice. And it continued to refine. And then I added more. I added in different things, and it continued to refine my voice. So I want to pause there for just a second and kind of go back to this basic framework of building your voice. First, do your intro. You want to tell it to act like a personal copywriter using your voice. Then you want to put in your full-length bio, attach supplemental documentation, and this is key. Get transcripts. Like your intake calls you're doing with clients, those should be recorded. Your agent strategy calls, those should be recorded. All that should be recorded. Get all that in. And again, you don't need 80 of these because it'll blow out your system. Get enough in there so it's really got a good sense of your voice. Include social media profiles, articles that you've written, awards that you've received. Put in your anti-AI disclaimer. And I say, hey, operate like an AI detector. Avoid the following phrases, right? And then I say, and then you want to engage AI, and this is key. Always ask it to give you send you any clarifying questions.
Hey, Shane, that device that you were showing where, you record all of your stuff, what do I have to tell the client or the individual that I'm talking to before I just let it do its thing?
I'm gonna bookmark that. At the end, I talk a little bit about a tool I use. So I'm gonna go over that. If I don't, remind me, Todd, and I'll stay on for Q&A.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody have any questions on setting up your first bot? Does the tool create a version of you talking with a photo? Taniko, I gotta be honest, I have no idea what you're asking.
I think she's basically asking if the AIU it talks like, with you looking real.
Yeah.
That would be creepy.
I don't care about that. Not to sound like I don't want to dismiss what you're asking, Taniko. Again, for me, I find that what works best is, there's a lot of strategies on how you can leverage AI to take the video of yourself you already have. I don't find it super effective to use AI video for audiences of people that already know me. I think that feels weird. I think using AI voice to build out podcasts and other things where you're attracting new clients is great. But like for me, what I'm going over right now, this is like foundational. This is like the foundation of your home. To me, an AI video creator, like a VO3 and things like that, that's like, what color of blinds are we putting in our master bedroom? Not irrelevant, but not super important when you're thinking foundationally what matters most. So I have just not made that a priority. I've dabbled with them. I've tried a HeyGen, and it just, to me, it was creepy, and it wasn't me enough. And I have some beliefs on what people want to see in video that I'll just ignore me on that for now. But yeah, any other questions on like step one? And I need to move quick, you guys, because we're really got a lot to go over. How are you organizing? Great question. I do want to go through that. So there's a couple ways to organize it. ChatGPT has a really good folder system. And so like, I'll show you here, I'll just kind of go into like one of my folders, and you can search, which is also really helpful. I believe that you should have each bot, let's call these each a bot. It's basically just a chat, but let's call it a bot. I believe you should have single-use bots as much as you possibly can. I think it helps our brains accomplish things more effectively without getting off track and having squirrel moments. And so what I like to do is I have a bot that helps me design prompts. I have a birthday DM bot that writes like authentic birthday DMs every day. I can analyze all my transcripts with a bot that converts it into social media. I have one just for engaging on LinkedIn This is my newest one for Facebook based on GPT-5. I have one that writes stories about entrepreneurship. I have one that sounds like a performance coach and helps me send Saturday morning coffee with Shane updates to my team. So I'm organizing them in here. And then what you also see on the left-hand side here is these are called GPTs. GPTs, think of the Apple iOS App Store. These can be publicly facing. You control them. You can put some boundaries around them. And I think that these are going to be monetized. And so I'm starting to take my best bots and I'm moving them all into GPT. So that's, I hope that kind of explains, Stephanie, about organization. Cool. Anybody else before we jump into the next thing? Okay, cool. Melissa, did you have something?
Nope.
I put you on the spot because your face just popped up. Okay, cool.
Nope.
Okay, so again, like for us to be able to have more time, it's not that we should be doing less marketing. It's that we should be doing more marketing with less energy, right? And that's where I think AI can really help. After you've built your voice prompt, your first bot, that's your voice. There is a tool within ChatGPT. And guys, if you know this, like maybe we'll give Harish to throw in like a year of ARIVE. It's called Retrieval Augmented Generation, RAG or RAG. Has anybody heard of RAG? In essence, what it does is it will, within one GPT, I can actually say to it, hey, pull history, pull the prompt framework from another GPT that I built. And so why this can be really important is like we built our voice, right? So I call it my IP coach, my voice. And then I'll say, activate IP coach. And of course, this will be the time it won't work, right? My voice. What I'm saying is before you do anything, I want you to go learn that knowledge from that other bot. And what it did say, hey, great, this is active. I've just learned everything about your voice. So here's what makes this so cool. We spent, let's just say 30 minutes building out our first bot, which is my voice. Anytime I want any content to sound like me, I'm going to activate RAG when I'm building the next prompt. And so what you'll see if you looked in if you look under the hood, you looked at my engine inside ChatGPT, I'm leveraging different bots to build the framework for future bots. It's like before you build the second story, you always build the first story. Every house starts with a concrete foundation. So for me, most of my bots are going to start with my voice. So I'll just say activate IP coach my voice. Now here's what's cool. You can start to stack them. So let's say I want to do, I think it's called my performance coach. Now this, I took all the famous coaches from all the books I've ever read. I said, I want to bring their knowledge into my bot so I can start to have opportunities where I sound like that, or I bring that knowledge in. And so now what it did is I said, hey, what we're doing is we're adding brains to the system. I'm saying, I'm going to build this whole new brain that's going to do this whole new thing. Maybe it's writing blogs. But before I do that, before I start to coach you to become an expert blog writer, I want you to talk in my voice and I want you to have all the knowledge from my performance coach. And so this is like pouring jet fuel on a fire, right? So you see this and instantly you're going, now then here's another one. Because I don't want to see any of you lovely people ever posting in a way that looks like AI. Like that's not the goal. This is a flavor enhancer. You can't make a bad steak taste good by just putting salt on it. It's still a bad steak. You got to start with a good foundation. Good foundation is you are engaging in the platforms, you're doing things, but we enhance it with stuff like this, right? So what we're doing is we're saying, hey, I don't want to sound like AI. You would build a bot. The only purpose of that bot is to make sure that it avoids anything that sounds like AI. Then you would say, activate my no AI voice bot. And then it's going to learn all that. So now I would say, hey, I have my voice, I have my performance coach knowledge, and I have my anti-AI, don't ever sound like AI bot integrated in before I've ever even started building my expert blog writing bot. And the great thing about this is it takes me just as long as it takes me to type out the word activate and then the name of the bot. And it just learned everything, right? And then what it's doing is, let me rephrase that. It's not learning everything. It's taking a summary of the knowledge from that other bot, and it brings over that summary and learns that summary, which is the basics of that bot. Questions on that, you guys? Okay, cool. I'm going to move quick. So once you've done that, now you like that just opens up your world to building bots to do everything. And so now what I've done is I'm taking a bot and I'm saying, hey, because what I do is like, I have a lot of weird thoughts in my head. Like I'm a weirdo and I'm like sitting like in my sauna and I'm like, I wonder if that'd make a good post. So what I do is I take it and I put it in my social media bot and I'll say, hey, enhance this post. And what it's done is because I've coached that bot on all the top social media influencers, the framework that makes the most sense, what's trending. It takes what I wrote, my story or my post or whatever that is, and it just enhances it for the platform. It's like taking a great steak and putting on a really good salt, right? It's still my foundation, but it's enhancing and it's making better. And so once you've done that, now your social media can be way more intentional. And you could say, enhance this. My audience is real estate agents that I used to work with, dropped the ball, didn't follow up with, and haven't talked to in 5 years. And it will take whatever I wrote, my thought while I'm sitting in my infrared sauna, my thought while I'm on my jog or my walk with my dog, and it'll make it better for that intended action. And so then once you do that, this starts to open up Pandora's box of awesomeness. Because if you're like me, you've probably thought about doing all these things. You've thought about writing blog posts. You've thought about making LinkedIn articles. You've thought about writing newsletters. You know that it's a poor argument to say that stuff won't work because we know it will work if we do it long enough. The reality is we don't know how to write blogs. We don't know how to like write the best LinkedIn articles. And quite frankly, I don't have the time to go through and do that until I build my bots. And so now that I have my bots and they sound like me, I just schedule in my calendar what I'm going to be doing. And an example of that is I decided that I wanted to have a bot for writing AI, for like writing like articles about AI. And so what I did is I built a bot, I prompted it, I said, hey, activate, Shane's voice, activate performance coach, activate LinkedIn Engage. So now it's sounding like me. It's specifically coached and designed to be an expert at the framework needed for LinkedIn to maximize LinkedIn. And I've done all this work. And so this is my behind the scenes. This is how I built my bot for writing AI articles. And then all I have to do, again, remember, I had a lot of effort up front. Now, when I want to do this, it's very, very easy. I just say, write another daily brief. And it'll go and it'll start to do that for me. I could go into my viral content and I could say, I really want to write, like I had an entrepreneurial story that I wrote on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, like LinkedIn works very different than Facebook does. The metrics are very different. And again, with social media guys, you're not going to hit them all out of the park. You're going to hit 1 or 2 out of the park, and that's all that matters. I wrote this, I had my bot write a story for LinkedIn. And just to prove it, I'll show you what it did. I was writing the story of Kobe Bryant and how he got into this energy drink company, which I just thought was really interesting. And I had my bot write this, and look how many impressions I got on this. So again, I'm just showing you what I did. If LinkedIn will work for me.
And let me just tell everybody that keeps asking, I promise you will get a recording of all of this. I know it's great info and you're really excited, and we will get that out there to you.
So guys, I had 82,000 impressions on a LinkedIn article that was 100% written with my ChatGPT LinkedIn Engage engine, right? And one post doesn't make you money, but consistently posting and having posts that do pop and then engaging with those people in an effective way absolutely matters, and it absolutely works. And I did that through my LinkedIn Engage bot. So again, like guys, this is not concept. This is taking ideas and this is moving to execution. And so it's so important that, again, we understand that that first prompt has to be our voice. We then use RAG, R-A-G, to start to build out second, third, fourth bot, Facebook bot, LinkedIn bot. And so what you do is take a yellow notepad and sit down with a good cup of coffee and just say, what do I need to accomplish? What are the things I've wanted to do? What are the things that will make me more money, increase my influence, and help me have more time? And so for me, I said, I've been learning AI for a year. I should be writing about AI. So I built a bot that helps me write articles on AI. I said, I need to be using LinkedIn. It's a powerful platform. I own a commercial building with a co-working space. I need to be getting in front of entrepreneurs. I need to be on LinkedIn, and started to engage on LinkedIn. And so that's what happens. And then like the last one, and this is where back to that question about, hey, making your AI video, I made an AI voice. And I made an AI voice. And I built it all out. We'll go to Spotify here and I'll show you. And I just built this last week just as a test. Let's see if I can do this. We'll go to podcasts. Okay, so I'm number 3 right now when you type in the Mortgage Minute for a podcast. I built this entirely inside ChatGPT with the exception of the actual voice. I use another product called 11 Labs, which that's a whole training just to go into that. I'm showing this because I was able to, and I'm going to stop my share really quick so I can then share my audio. I was able to go in and write out the transcripts for the AI bot. And then I started to be able to go in and create episodes of this podcast. Guys, this took me 30 minutes. Welcome back to another episode of the Mortgage Minute. If you own a home and have built up equity, you might have heard about something called a cash out refinance. That's completely AI, not me at all.
Wow.
Now you might say, well, yeah, but Shane, you only have 13 subscribers or you only have, it doesn't matter. I can leverage this in so many different ways. When you're competing against another lender, and we all the coaches in the industry will always talk about creating evergreen content, evergreen videos that you can just, if somebody has a question that you get asked more than once, you can just answer that question. That's great. What if you had evergreen audio? Because I don't know about you, but a lot of my consumers now, they don't want to consume long form text. They don't want to watch long form video. They want to listen to a 1-minute audio. And if that's how I operate, like, why wouldn't I assume that my people want to operate that way? And so now I'm able to, through my voice, my first prompt, then adding in activating RAG, then having it learn to be an expert on how to write for 11 Labs for voice audio, I now can create within about 2 minutes a full script for 11 Labs. And so I don't want to like go too far down the rabbit hole, but when we're talking about marketing efficiency, we're talking about being able to take all of these big concepts that seem like they take a lot of work, blog writing, and you're able to generate them in a matter of seconds once you've taken the time to build your bot correctly.
Hey, Shane. Oh, I was just gonna say, we got 10 minutes left. I just admitted Gordon Chin, just so everybody knows we do have Advantage credit. Can we pivot and then we can come back for questions after?
Let's do it. So, and guys, I'm happy to stay on after too. So I don't have a hard stop. So if people want to stay longer, we can go through more. So guys, when I sat down and I went through this concept around your traditional credit report, then it was your traditional single bureau soft pull, and then it was this concept of how do I get a soft pull with AUS findings? The reason I did this was because obviously, like everyone else, my costs went through the roof on pulling credit. And as a business owner, it's not wise to ignore when one of your costs goes up like 7x overnight. Like that's foolish business. And so I had to sit down and wrestle with this conversation with myself of how do I help my people be able to offer a similar experience, get clarity on their file without just writing massive check. 'Cause I don't charge my LOs for credit. Like we're more of a hybrid. I cover all the costs. They make a little less in profit. They have no risk. I take on that risk. So this was a big deal for me. And what I was able to do using Advantage credit. And it took a while, and Gordon's on, so Gordon can get into this. And Gordon, like, it was like, your team was awesome, but I got to be honest, it is so complicated for an average sales guy like me to be able to navigate this. And I know you guys are working on that. And again, I've been with Advantage a long time, so I'm not here to bash a good vendor, but just as an LO on the street, trying to like not spend more time on something like this than I need to. It was a lot of work to get this point. Not even the Advantage vendors understood how to do this correctly. I had to be very firm and very direct in getting this done. But what I ended up doing, guys, is I now have 3 accounts in Advantage. I have a tri-merge account, I have a soft pull account, and I have a soft pull account with AUS findings. And so I'm able to go in now. And so what we did at Dwell, we created a matrix. We basically said, when does it still make sense financially and from a production perspective to still pull a tri-merge at the beginning? And what we just came up with is, hey, if we have a past client who's worked with us before, like, it's all about loyalty and urgency. If we have high loyalty and high urgency, our team is absolutely good to go pull a tri-merge, right? If we have low loyalty and high urgency, we're either going to do a soft pull or we're going to send the invoice link, and then the consumer can pay for that. Because what we found is, listen, if they aren't loyal to me, why would I spend $1 on them? Right? Like, again, we're brokers. Like, we have flexibility in price. They're not leaving us because we can't come up with a good price. They're leaving us because they never saw us as a partner. And if I have somebody that doesn't see me as a partner, I'm not spending $107 and doing that 50 times, 100 times a month. Like, it wasn't wise business for me anymore. And so what we wanted something where we could still, the majority of the time, get AUS, right? Because that, for me, like, when I was in retail, our pre-approvals never didn't work. Like, we had like 2 pre-approvals in like 10 years that were declined. Like, our files were always clean, but I just had to do it differently. And so what we did is, so kind of the thing you have to understand is, each type of credit pull that you want to do has its own account. And so you have to, in your credentials, you have to set those all up individually. And then when you're running credit inside your file, you have to select the one that you want to use based on that criteria. And so for us, low loyalty, low urgency, soft pull. In fact, low loyalty, low urgency, we might soft pull with an investor that does that for us for free, right? We might just like run it by them just because, right? Like with Rocket or whomever. If there's loyalty but no urgency, we're going to do a single bureau with AUS. And I communicate to my clients, and so do my LOs, the advantages for them and why we do this, and the reason why, from a business perspective, it makes sense for us. We talk about how many calls are going to get, and like this whole, well, they can opt out. Guys, I've been opted out of any sort of spam communication for like 8 years, and I get spammed all the time. So I don't think it's wise to tell our people that you can just opt out and that will remove that problem. That's not true. That's like saying you'll never have a heart attack if you eat fiber. Well, it might make it less likely, but it doesn't remove the reality that could take place. And so we just built this in such a fashion that we could choose based on the criteria of the loyalty factor of the person and the urgency factor of them. And so that's how we came into this.
I'm glad you pointed that out.
So Gordon, I don't know if you want to jump in.
Hey, Shane. Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm hopping in a little late, but looks like I joined right at the right time where we're talking about topic that pertains to us. So thank you for that, Shane. And so I just want to make sure, so your company is already ordering the One Bureau AUS soft pull to get findings from LP. You're already doing that. Okay, so that's good. I mean, that's certainly a good way to minimize your costs for sure. Now, the one thing I did hear was the multiple sign-on issues, right? So I know we do have the capability of a single sign-on for hard pulls and soft pulls, but the LOS platform has to have that integration to accommodate that. So, I know the only LOS that I know right now that can do that would be Encompass, right? So
you said the word that makes us all want to puke, Gordon.
I know, but that's and I'm not, I mean, I love ARIVE, I promote ARIVE, every day. So, but the single sign-on capability does exist, so that it would prevent, so you don't have to have all of these different logins to pull a hard pull and soft pull. So that's one thing I do want to mention, and that may be on the horizon with her, ARIVE already. Maybe that's something they're already looking into, but it is available on our end. I just want to say that. But I do like your process. I mean, the low loyalty, low urgency makes sense to either utilize the smart pay link possibly to have your borrowers pay for that initial soft pull, because you don't want to invest in a client that may not end up, using you guys for the loan. So I mean, your process is tight. I like the way you're doing things. But I mean, is there anything else I can comment on? Again, I missed the whole first part of this meeting, but
Gordon, the only thing I would say is that, and I know that you guys have like acquired other companies, and so you're all still learning how to like talk to each other. My experience was when I went to my Advantage rep and I said, "Hey, I'd like to get this." They said that doesn't exist, and then I said, "No, I know it exists." And what I had to do, and I think the challenge is I'm very stubborn, and I love my people here. I was like, I got to figure this out. A, I don't want to burn money, and B, I know there's a solution. I had to go to other LOs, and they were like sharing me screenshots of how they set it up and what they did. And so my only piece of advice would be, like, I would love a single page chart, paint by numbers, because that's like my style. Just give me a very simple paint by numbers chart of how to get to a place where I can single pull AUS, because I had to basically coach the reps on what it was that I needed. And so, I mean, I was kind of hoping to get paid by Advantage for a day's worth of work, but like, that was my experience. And again, they got me to the solution. They did an excellent job of getting there, but it was a lot of work on my end. And I got a lot of no's, and I had to just say, I don't agree with you. I think there's a solution.
Yeah. So I did have a call with Amy Hewitt yesterday over at ARIVE, and this was the topic we discussed, right? Let's put together a training manual or a video, a very simple one for all of our clients, so that they can easily, navigate the ARIVE platform and how it integrates with Advantage Credit, and how they can set up the ability to order the AUS soft pulls, hard pulls, various types of soft pulls, and just really try to make it easier. So, this is something that, her and I discussed yesterday. So we are putting something together for our clients on
Awesome,
this
man.
very
Thank
topic.
you.
Mhm.
And I don't mean to like come at you, because I know there's so much that goes into this. We have no idea, right? It's just one little thing for us, but man, like, it's a hard industry, and it's been a hard couple of years. And I just hate seeing people spend money when they probably don't need to. And like for us, like, we have 3 payment links we have to do depending on which type of product we want to send out. So I need 3 logins, 3 payment links, 3 profiles. And like, I'm a fairly smart guy, and it's a little overwhelming for me.
Yeah. Well, Shane, we certainly appreciate your feedback. Any input we get from our clients, we take very serious. And the goal is to improve the process and make it more user friendly for our users. So
Awesome, man.
all your
Thank you.
input is very valuable.
Thank you. Cool, guys.
Yeah,
If you're good, I'm going to go back to a little bit more AI, and we're going to finish this out. And I promise I'll go quick, and I'll get ready to roll. Okay, cool. Thanks, Gordon.
You're welcome. You guys have
Thanks,
a good
Gordon.
day.
This is Harisha. Shane,
Oh,
can,
hey,
can I
Harish.
also interrupt you for a second if you're okay? So thank you, both of you, for doing the soft pull. That was very helpful. I'm not sure, Shane, if you will cover this in next 10 minutes. Personally, I keep a list of never share list with AI from a prompting perspective. For example, you should never share confidential client information, pay
Yes.
stubs, bank statement. We are all governed by something called GLB. So you should not be giving tax returns of borrowers or bank statements and saying, can you analyze this for me? So we live in the world of AI, like my team from an engineering perspective. So we are very careful and cautious. I hope you will cover this, even sharing personal information, like you said, date of birth, passwords, intellectual property, business information, profit and loss statements. So I'm not sure if you do that, Shane, but I do that as something called a never share list, just to protect myself and the company which I run. So
what I've done with that, because that is important. The great thing about like the content that I'm sharing today, we're not talking about any consumer data. We're not talking about anything that is confidential. However, I always, like, when I started building my AI bots, it's kind of like if you're remodeling your house, but you've never gone to like woodworking or engineering school. and then you go back to school and then you like finish the second floor of your house, you can go back and see like when you didn't know what you were doing, how you built things, how much different it is than now. So I have a Word doc with several prompts that I put in every time. One of those prompts is how to not sound like AI. Another one is like the protection of like intellectual property and confidentiality. And one thing I'm just going to share with you guys really quick. ChatGPT has short and long-term memory. And this was like eye-opening for me. Short-term memory is in the thread, in the bot. You're saying, hey, my name is Shane and Amy's my favorite rep at ARIVE, right? She was my OG. So she was my favorite originally. Now you're all my favorite. And it remembers that as short-term memory. But as you start to build out that prompt, it starts to forget some of the memory. They have this thing called long-term memory. Can you guys see on my screen when I go to personalization under my settings and you go to manage memories? Guys, this is like, if you want to really dial it in, you can actually refine your long-term memory over time. And so when you start to go, why is the bot doing that thing that it shouldn't be doing? It's a conflict between long-term and short-term memory. And you can go in here. And so one of your long-term memories, to Harish's point, would be things not to say, things not to do. And you put that in your long-term memory. So I have in my long-term memory a ton of stuff. I also have like my branding. And this is the one I do for like, don't say any of the stuff with AI, right? I say like, avoid this, avoid that, don't say that. That's in my long-term memory. So really, really important to do. Okay, I'm gonna move quick. So in creating more influence excuse me, let me just back up. Increasing your influence with real estate agents is like one of the key things you can do to grow your business. Whether we like it or not, referral partners are the bread and butter of our business, right? And certainly if you can get to a place where you're not relying on them, that's awesome. But what I don't want to do is teach you a strategy that's going to take 5 years to build while you're leaving money on the table today. What we know to be true about real estate agents, we know to be true about us. Real estate agents are no different than us in some key areas. They want to make more money. They want to have more time. They want to build more influence. If you give them the tools to do that, they're going to think about you in a positive light. That removes you as a vendor and it creates you as a person of contribution in their life, which is super important. A very easy way to do that is just start sending out DMs that are value-driven DMs. And so this is a value-driven DM that I'll quickly show you guys how to build inside ChatGPT. And the goal of this is you create a bot that actually gives them ideas of things to grow their business. And it sounds kind of dumb because you're like, well, shouldn't they know that? And yeah, they absolutely should, but they don't. Like they just don't go through and listen to podcasts from like the top real estate agents in their industry. I do. And so what I ended up doing is I created a bot, and I'll show you that bot. And the only goal of that bot is to create high value DMs that I can send agents. And I'm sending this, you can send this to hundreds of agents every week. And so if you're engaging with them online, you're building out blog posts, you're getting your podcast up and running, you're making your organic content better, landing better, higher rankings, higher SEO, and then you're starting to DM these people. What happens is if I DM Amy and then Amy responds to my DM, she's now going to see my content online, right? And so it's a super powerful tool to use DMs in lieu of cold calling. And so I built out this prompt and I told it what I wanted. And then what I also did is I used RAG so that it would pull in the history, that memory of my original primary bot. And then it started to create things for me. And so I'll say, great, I'm going to do this. Like, what's your tone? What's your cadence? What are the length? What do you want these to look like? And after you answer those questions, what comes out of that is my agent engaged DM. And so now what it does is I simply say, please create a new DM. And it will actually generate from that, and it'll create a DM that'll focus on helping the agents make more money, have more time, or build more influence. And I can simply start to DM these agents with stuff that is unique, it's authentic, it's organic, it's not coming from anybody else. It's not a copy and paste. It's not a $79 a month social media package. This is 100% from me, and it's super, super valuable. So like, here's the one that I just did, and it took 10 seconds. Most agents walk away from open houses with a sign-in sheet full of names that never convert. Try this tweak. Add one simple question on your sheet. Are you working with an agent already? It filters serious leads fast and gives you an easy conversation starter. Well, that's focusing on money, and it's an open house hack. You could be like, I don't like that one. Create another one. and it'll just make another one. And so then what I'm doing is I'm starting to DM these agents. Ever had a buyer freeze up after finding a home they say they love? Next time, try this. If the house sold tomorrow, what would you wish you had done today? Now, again, you could critique this and say, well, yeah, that's like $5 worth of value. But the reality is, you know what most LOs are still doing? They're still talking about interest rates. They're passing out crappy flyers about programs that no one wants until they need it. And they're still asking them for coffee. No one wants to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want a flyer from my oil change company telling me about the benefits of the 5W30 viscosity oil. Unless I'm getting an oil change, I could care less. And yet, what do we all do? We see David Madrid sending out this sweet looking flyer on HELOC loans. And I'm like, I better build a flyer on HELOC loans. So then I send out a flyer on HELOC loans. And then unless somebody needs a HELOC, they don't care about what I'm doing. And so the reality is, what I know to be true is, if I help agents make more money, if I don't ever talk about myself, what I do, I don't ever say I'm never too busy for your business, they start to see me as somebody of influence, as somebody of value in their life. And so then I say, hey, I'm doing a happy hour in 3 weeks. Would love to have you join me. They're like, this guy's giving me all this value, never asked for anything in return. Now he's going to give me free wine. Like, I'm in for that, right? And so this shifts you from a vendor, the guy knocking on the front door, the flyer that nobody wants, to somebody of immense influence. And so I went really quick on that, but this is super, super important. Any questions before I go on to the next one? And then I'm almost done. Okay, cool. I'm cooking, guys. So if you're good, I'll keep rolling. Okay, so how do we take this and make it into some really cool execution? You don't need to come up with new concepts. You just need to take what you're already doing, what's already working in the industry today, and just add AI into the process. In an hour, I showed you how to make your voice come out in AI and not sound like ChatGPT. I showed you how to make a DM that is unique and authentic, and when you don't like it, it generates another one within seconds, and you can then take 20 minutes to DM all of your agents, right? You can then go in and you can make newsletters, blog posts. So you're not only building a short-term funnel, you can now start to make long-term funnel value. Blog posts, other way, like, LinkedIn, Instagram, your standard blog post, that all indexes. That helps you in the future build new business, building out newsletters. That helps you index. That helps you have a long-term strategy. And then when you're meeting with agents, that helps you build a short-term strategy. So really quick, here's just some other things you can do with this, because I think it's really cool. And again, this is just taking things you already do. Move your intake calls to Zoom. I went 100% all in on this. I gave my leads Calendly with one option: schedule a Zoom call. They go to Zoom. I integrated Zoom with Fathom AI. You can get it for free. If you want like some free credits, send me a DM. I'll send you a link. You record all of your Zoom calls with Fathom. It instantly converts that into video with hyperlinks so they can reference back to that certain place. It gives you the whole video, and it also gives you the transcript. You take that transcript and you run that through AI. Now you have evergreen content for blog posts, for newsletters, for cheat sheets to give to your agents. David, ever had a client ask you about why they should get a conventional over an FHA loan? Here's a quick cheat sheet. Value, right to them. And all you're doing is taking your voice. You already spoke to the client, and you're now making that into high value content. To that point earlier about AI video, you don't need to do AI video. You take your 30-minute intake call, you then extract that MP4, you put it in Opus Pro or Captions AI, and I have 20 short form evergreen videos, because I'm not recording the other person. Zoom is recording me when I'm talking. So it's me answering Amy's question about MI, answering Harish's question about should I wait to buy or should I get in the market now? And I chop that all up in the short form video. I use Captions AI, and now I have content for weeks. If you did an intake call a day for the next 30 days, you would have a year's worth of organic content for free that would be yours, no one else's voice. It's not the same thing that everybody else is buying online. It's not the crap that companies are pushing out for their LOs, and it's you. And that starts to drive a ton of value. Last thing, and then I'm going to give you guys a free GPT that you can use with your agents. We talked about articles, blog posts. We talked about high engaging content. If you're on video and you're like, I don't know what to say, and you don't want to take your video from your intake calls or your agent meetings that you're already doing, you can just say, hey, make me a script for TikTok. You can have it analyze the top 5 competitors in your space. You can have it analyze the influencers, and it'll tell you exactly what to say and how to say it. And it's super, super easy. I'm going to go to Q&A, but before I do, I want to give you guys a free tool that you can use today, tomorrow, and in the future with your real estate agents. So again, I was on a coaching call with one of my private coaching clients, and he's in Florida, and the Florida market's getting a little squirrely. Condos are like collapsing, insurance rates are going through the roof. Like it's an interesting time to be in Florida. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what to do. He basically was saying, I feel old and I don't know how to get in front of my agents. And I said, well, what do your agents need? They need more money, more time, more influence. Why don't we build them a bot? So we built him a bot. And what this bot is, and you guys, I'll give you the bot. It's a public GPT. You can download the GPT for free. What this bot does is it builds viral blog posts for the agent. It asks them 2 questions. Is this blog for a buyer or a seller? And what city and state are you wanting to focus on? And then it builds a high value blog post for that agent that they can go then post. And so this is a great way for you to have, again, more bait, more value to get in front of your agents and say, hey, Harish, I was thinking about you today. Like, I know you didn't have an open house this weekend. It's been a little slow. If you have a little bit of time, I really want to work with you on building out a blog strategy. And I don't want you to have to build blogs because that's not a great use of our time. I actually built you a bot, and you can go into this bot and put in 4 words and it'll generate high ranking, high SEO ranking blog content. You can paste it on your website. And it's super valuable for these agents. That's just one bot of many, but it's just a little thank you for Harish and for the team. And I'll stay for questions if you guys have any. And thanks for letting me running long.
Thank you. You could tell everybody was so engaged. I don't think we've ever run over this long and had this many people really, really engaged. The chat's still blowing up with questions. So we really appreciate you.
Of course. Anything for you guys.
Yeah,
I really secretly did this because I'm hoping Harish will like move up the priority on making multiple pre-approval letters.
yes, no, that is always a priority. As you know, Shane, you posted a post on that. I'm sure you used AI to generate that when you posted that a few weeks back. But yeah, thank you. Multiple pre-approval letters definitely are one of the top ones. Like you said, for building new content that resembles you, I think you have brought some great tools to the table. Hopefully other loan officers and our community can benefit. And just for $20 a month, you get this kind of a personal coach that can help you create this amazing content that sounds and speaks like you. That is awesome. So, any other questions, Jalen? Thank you, Jalen, again for hosting, coordinating. I'm not sure if Amy is on, but she is awesome, like you said. Any other questions that came through or today?
Amy is on.
Okay, I see.
Jane,
Good. Any
Jane,
other questions?
do you sell a AI setup, get yourself going kind of thing? Other than what you just showed.
I'm gonna probably next month run like a 10-day like AI boot camp, but I don't have it. It's not launched, but yeah, but you guys are welcome to, and I don't want to make it about me, but yeah, you guys are welcome to hit me up on a messenger app, DM on Facebook or LinkedIn. I'm happy to kind of talk through what we're working on.
Cool.
Stephen,
Yeah,
do you have a
the
question?
GPT?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Shane, I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Tons of information. Thank you very much. About the polls that you do, set up with Advantage Credit. So I'm a past underwriter, so I don't rely on AUS too much. And I'm just curious, if you're running one credit bureau with AUS, aren't you, I don't know, doing the client a disservice because you don't know their 3 scores?
So I've thought about that, and there's always this tension between like, what's my job and how much do I need? Like, how much of my daughter's college fund do I need to spend to get more clarity on a file, right? Like, that's the reality. And so I went to one of the largest, in fact, they're the largest investor in the country, probably the world. And I sat down with them on this exact topic. And what I asked them was, and what they said is, they said what they found, not my numbers, their numbers, that when they go from a single bureau to a tri-merge, that mid score, they had less than 2% of people that fell out of their approval. And so they said, Shane, we would be stupid to delay a deal, right? And so they actually said they will not pull a tri-merge until the day of funding, right? So they do a tri-merge soft pull when they run it through underwriting, but they won't do a hard pull until the day of funding. And so for me, I don't want to put my emotion into it. I want to use statistics. And I think it was like 1.6%. For me, If I can spend $31 versus 107 and my potential risk is 1.6%, I would be a fool to spend $107. Now, with that being said, I didn't get into how I pre-approve a client. I'm going through, I use Blueprint.io for their income. I analyze their income with Blueprint. It's like MGIC calculators on steroids. I go through and I'm using ARIVE. I'm going through and looking at docs. For me, I like having the AUS as a backstop, just like I like having other tools as a backstop, but it's not the only thing I'm using to qualify a client. But I think that the age of running a VOE at pre-approval and tri-merge, like that's gone. Unless they decide to lower the price, that's not my fault. Like, just talk to Experian. They're the guys that are doing this to us. And like, I just can't justify spending $300 on a pre-approval that may not even go forward with me.
Right. That makes sense. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
what was it that you said you used? Blueprint? What?
It's called Blueprint.io. It's an awesome tool. Yeah.
So it's
Well,
for
thank you guys
income
so
and
much.
Thank you. Exactly. Thank you, Jalen. I think Shane, this was the longest session we have had, as Jalen mentioned, in a while. So we so greatly appreciate you doing this and everyone staying on.
All good. Thanks, you guys, and have a good weekend. See you guys soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.